Welcome to the Barrel Rollers podcast, episode 2. The Barrel Rollers are a collective of sim driving content creators and Twitch streamers, and we're currently the premier Dirt Rally 2.0 community on Twitch. In this, our second episode, we will be exploring the origins of the Barrel Rollers, a quick recap of the journey that got us to where we are today, and what we're looking forward to in the future. So for the next hour or so, we hope you enjoy with your hosts, Wolve3591, myself, RaindancerAU, and a first timer to the podcast who we will be introducing right now. Joining us today is the other founder, the other original of the Barrel Rollers, and that's KasualKevTV. It's a real pleasure to have him here.
There he is. Pickles himself. There he is.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
Really, none of this would have happened without KasualKevTV. Absolutely none of it.
Agreed.
I can't. I think you guys would be okay without me, but I accept the praise. You guys would be all right without me.
We might have been okay without you, but now we got to have you, brother. Now we got to have you. We need you.
I mean, I still recall how I first saw Kev. My very first experience of KasualKevTV was, I can't remember which stream it was, my second or third stream, second or third day of streaming, maybe, something like that. And I think I must have been wrapping up my stream and saying thank you to everyone. And I think in those days, maybe I had 2 or 3 viewers and my chat wasn't very active at all. And as I was wrapping up, I just saw KasualKevTV's name pop up with a thumbs up. And the effect that simple emote had on me was huge. It really was huge. And I think it was a thumbs up and then a follow, and that was my very first meet of KasualKevTV. And then I thought, okay, well, let's go check him out. Afterwards, I dropped into his channel, had a little bit of a watch, and I was like, this guy's cool. What a lovely guy. And then really shortly after that, I think I had another stream, and TTV Inferno Impreza in our Discord popped up and said, hi, KasualKevTV sent me over. He says you're a great streamer. And that blew me away. It absolutely blew me away. And then I think from there, we hung out a bit more and chatted a bit more. But Kev was just somebody off in the distance who'd given me a thumbs up in chat and sent somebody over to me. But it was so impactful. Those 2 little gestures were so impactful and told me a hell of a lot about Kev. That's how I met Kev.
It's crazy. Like, I can think back to that day, those days, sitting in my living room, looking at my phone. That's how I didn't sit in front of my computer, searching Twitch from my phone. And I can still picture, how you have those moments in your life, right? And you picture exactly the way everything was. I mean, this is a big deal to me. This whole thing is, and always has been. But so I remember these things, and I can still picture sitting in that living room, and it was on a couch that we no longer own, but I can still remember, I can visually see the hole in the cushion as I'm sitting there on my phone, and I'm like, why does this guy only have 7 followers? That was my first reaction when I seen him. He's got this beautiful stream. He's jostling around in his chair. And he's got 7 followers. This must be his first day. That was my first thing. This has to be his first day. But either way, it's just one of those things. It's embedded in my head. I'm thankful for the day that I stumbled across your stream, and it's been awesome ever since. So
Yeah. Too right, Kev. Too right. Um, we'll talk a little bit more about how things went from there. But before we go there, let's focus. Let's put the spotlight on Kev.
Indeed, let's do. We need to
Let's
find out many things about Kev.
Yes, indeed. I'm wondering, how much is going to be new for me here as Kev gets to tell his story. Kev, so in our first podcast, Wolvie and Audiophile and myself talked a little bit about who we were, sort of, a summary of where we came from, I guess, professionally and personally. So I talked about, what my career had been like up to this point, and so did Wolvie. We talked about, generationally where we were, and like. So Kev, over to you.
Well, I'm just Kev. Let's see here. Where do we start? I'm 43 years old. I think that's very similar to someone else in this podcast right now.
Yep.
I've been married for 16 years to Casual
Wow.
Karen, who hangs out in my chat. I have 2 kids. They are 14 and 11, a boy and a girl. What else is there to say about me?
Whereabouts in the
personal life?
world are you?
So I've been in Ohio in the United States. I've born here, grew up here, and I've never left. I've only been out of this country one time in my life, and that was when my wife and I got married. We went to Canada, Niagara Falls for our
Lovely.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit of your career history. Where do you come from career wise?
Okay. My dad was a contractor, a carpenter. I worked very hard as a kid. I was kind of in one of those situations where ends were not being met all that well, and it was rough, right? So I spent a lot of my weekends and after school helping my dad and doing things. I did not like it. I wanted to do things with my friends. I wanted to play video games. I wanted to escape all of that, right? But it was tough, and my dad was tough. And so either way, I learned a lot of things. Once I got out of high school, I didn't go to college. I worked as a carpenter. I worked for a couple different companies. Eventually, I moved on from that. I was like, this stuff is too rough, too tough on my body. I got into some IT stuff, and I ended up working at a medical system, health system. And I worked in the telecommunications department in an IT group. And I did that for 15 years.
Woo!
Wow.
And eventually that became too much because things were expanding too quickly with the group. And I was on call. I carried a pager. They didn't even give me a cell phone. I had to carry a pager. And I was on call 24 hours a day. And at the drop of a hat, I would have to go back in. And I had these 2 little kids at home, and my wife worked an hour away. We were in a hard spot. So about 4 years ago, I resigned from that job, and I was a stay-at-home dad for a bit. And then I took on another job working for a friend doing some marketing and content creation for some small businesses in our area. It didn't pay great, but it was something that kept me busy. And I was doing that up until COVID. COVID happened, and then that job went up in smoke, as you say. So now I consider Twitch my full-time job for now. If things don't necessarily work out here, I will, I'm capable of doing other things, sure, and that's always on the plate. But for now, I am 100% focused on my stream, the barrel rollers, and helping everybody and anybody I can that's part of our group.
One reason why we love Casual Kev, he's so genuine. How did your career lead you into gaming, or was it the other way around? Gaming lead you into your career in IT?
Well, I was going to say, obviously I'm 43. The Atari, I was just looking up, like, when did the Atari 2600
2600.
launch? Okay.
Yes.
It launched in 1977.
Uh-huh.
And that's the same year I was born. It was a few months after I was born. It's like, that's a nice coincidence. But either way, at some point in my very young age, I don't know how old I was, I do remember my dad getting us an Atari and playing Space Invaders. And there was some game called Dragster. You had to flip the stick back and forth to shift. And it was an awesome game. But that's where it started. I had the Atari, and I pretty much probably had every console that came out since. And I never was a PC gamer until this year. But I had every console from that Atari on, every Sega, every Nintendo, every PlayStation, and every Xbox. So it's been my love, man. I honestly, like, I don't know anything else that, you know, if I could pick the perfect life, it would be gaming and figuring out how to make it my career. Okay.
That's so cool. That's so cool. All the consoles. And yeah, the Atari. I remember myself in primary school that yeah, at first all the kids who had Ataris were all the kids that everyone was jealous of. And then, you know, the progression started. Then I think maybe it was a Commodore 64 came out, and then everybody who had Commodore 64 was the ones that everyone was jealous of, and then it just progressed. You know, each console after that. Yeah, but the Atari, oh man, I definitely distinctly remember the first time I went to somebody's place and they had an Atari, and yeah, just being blown away. But wow, that is early. That is an early
It
introduction,
early.
both to games and to car games specifically as well.
So you're already a gamer. You're already hooked from a very early age. What pushed you into sim racing? What was your first racing title beyond the Dragster in Atari?
I don't know for sure what the other racing titles were, but for some reason, and I'm not a huge car person. I don't know everything or the in and outs of the cars. I do love cars. I love driving, but I don't know all of the technical things about cars. But I've always had this thing about racing games. I don't know why. My brother, he's similar age. He doesn't care about racing games. He doesn't want to do racing games. I'm like, come on, let's play this racing game. No, he's not interested. But for some reason I am. And I've always been that way, whether it was on controllers or whatever, from the Gran Turismos, the RC Pro-Am on the Nintendo. You know what I mean? Like, I had all those things. It just was something that I love. I don't know why. And I always loved manual. Like, my very first car, I learned how to drive in a manual car. So it's like, once you get to that point where you can do something with a rig like I have, it just makes you feel like a boss. Even if you're not very good, it makes you feel like a boss if you're able to do that. You know what I mean? And drive it that way. So it's a good feeling. It's what it's all about. It's not about being the fastest or the best. It's just about feeling good.
Right on, man. There's something very visceral about it, right? Especially when the wheel is kicking in your hands and all of that.
Exactly.
It's responding to you. Yeah.
Speaking to the wheel, tell us about your segue into a wheel. I mean, at some point we all made that jump from a controller to the wheel.
You were mentioning earlier about Fanatic being an early thing for you. So this will be fascinating.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly when it was, but at one point Fanatic had released all the Porsche wheels early on. I think it was maybe their first big set of stuff they had set out, and I only had the Xbox 360 at the time. So I bought one of those GT3s, or I don't remember what it was called, but I loved it.
Well, yeah.
But I didn't quite like grasp it. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't everything to me like it is now.
Do you remember
I had very small kids.
Do you remember the game that motivated you to buy the wheel? What was the game?
I was playing the Forza series.
Ah, very
whatever
good.
was out at that
Okay.
time. I definitely played the original Xbox,
Right,
the
right.
original Forza, right? But I didn't have a wheel at that time.
Right.
I probably bought the Xbox 360 wheel way back and kept it for a very short period of time. It didn't hit the stride. You know what I mean? It
Yep.
Didn't push
do
the
much
button.
for me.
Didn't push the buttons.
I had it strapped to a TV tray, you know what I mean, those things. But then at some point with the Forza series on the Xbox 360, I finished in my basement. I had the big screen TV, you know what I mean? You had the whole kit and caboodle, and it was like, okay, now we want to set up a wheel down here out of the kids' way, and I'm gonna drive. So I did that. And eventually, I faded from it. I did fade from it. Everything going on with kids, real life,
Sure.
I didn't put the time in that I needed. And eventually I ended up selling the wheel to someone, and it went away. And I continued to play racing games. I was just on controller, and everything changed for me on a Black Friday a couple years ago. I think it was 2018, Black Friday. I was I was playing a ton of Forza Horizon 4 with the controller. I was making YouTube videos, and I'm like, man, I want to get a wheel. So I started watching, and I ended up buying a Thrustmaster TMX Pro.
Yes.
And now this was awesome. All of a sudden, I was enjoying it. I loved it, right? It quickly changed. Like, I started looking into other games that I wanted to get. What other games can I play this on? And eventually I met some other people. I started searching more on Twitch, and we can get into some of those influential people
Certainly.
that I met through Twitch that helped push me to where I am today.
Fascinating, Kev. Fantastic story.
Do you have another question about the wheel, Wolvie?
Again, what made you choose Thrustmaster? Was it Black Friday? Strictly on sale? I mean, because you were in Fanatec's ecoverse for a brief period of time.
But that was probably 8 years before I changed. I mean, that was a long time ago, and then I had nothing for years. And then when I decided to come back, I'm like, I don't want, Fanatic stuff is a little more pricey.
They changed as
I was
well.
looking-
I think Fnatic was not super pricey to begin with. I think they were maybe a tier above Logitech's, but they weren't as expensive as they are now. From memory, I can't remember that very well though.
When I started doing the little bit of research on, like, okay, what do I want? Obviously, I seen the Logitech G29s and the 920, and then I see the Thrustmaster stuff. And I'm one of those people that will research something forever and watch 100 YouTube videos to make sure that I'm getting what I want. And the single thing that sold me on Thrustmaster over the Logitech was the manual shifter. I saw that people weren't necessarily happy with the feel of the Logitech, and that even though you had to spend more money to get the Thrustmaster version, it didn't come with it. It was much better, and that was the reason I went Thrustmaster.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. Really love how you progressed, and also that it's something that started up and faded because of real life factors, and then it's something that's come back in force. Because I think a lot of people sort of our age, similar to our age, with the children growing up and becoming more independent, are finding that they have some time or some capability to explore their own hobbies and start coming into this sort of thing. I mean, I know there are a lot of people who would love to do real life driving, real life competition, but the time and financial commitment to that sort of thing is, it's another level above the commitment, time and financial commitment of doing sim racing. You know, the accessibility is not there. But it's really interesting that a lot of your information came from Twitch. So were you, when did you start looking into Twitch, and why?
Well, if I look back at my account, I think that I opened it or I created it way back in like 2017 or something along that line. I didn't use it too much though. I basically, I have a brother-in-law who was doing The Division or something like that, and I was doing my part to support him. So I followed one person, and that was him, and I would tune in and watch him play The Division. So that's why I had a Twitch account. And it didn't come full circle until early 2019, where I was like, well, I was doing a little bit of YouTube stuff, recording, and was doing things with my kids. Basically, my channel was revolved around me and my kids. We were a squad. It wasn't me, it was the three of us. And eventually they thought it wasn't cool to play with Dad anymore. So
Wait, so
Dad had to rebrand. So
in segue to the origin of your name, you created this account back in 2017 with this current name.
No,
right.
we were a different name.
Okay, gotcha.
We were a different name.
It's the history of the history of your name creation. Obviously, is something we're interested in as well. So that's what I was asking.
Yeah. So we were called the Jordan Gamer Squad. And, obviously, that's a tie into my last name. But that was who we were, and it was either me and my son doing stuff, co-op stuff together, or me and my daughter, or the three of us. And
fascinating.
And that's what we did. And eventually, they were like, we're not down with this, Dad. We're out. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess I'm rebranding.
Your name change came shortly thereafter, I imagine, as soon as you embraced using Twitch a little more frequently.
Yeah. It's another one of those moments where I can picture sitting on the couch in the other room, and my daughter helping me. I'm like, what am I gonna call myself? What am I? And she goes, well, you're Kev, and you're not sweaty. You're kind of laid back.
I love it. Not sweaty. I love it.
And she goes, and I'm like, casual with a K? And that's where it was.
Nice.
KasualKev. And then eventually I had to look and make sure it was available on Twitch and YouTube and all the places. So I had to add the TV on the end, because there is another KasualKev out there somewhere.
There's a few of them out there. There are.
Yeah. So yeah,
fantastic, Kev. Glad to hear it.
Lovely story, man.
Love to know the origin. Absolutely.
All right. Well, let's circle back to. Okay, so you converted your Twitch over to KasualKev. Were you already? Was that when you were already doing your research into a wheel at that time?
By the time I actually changed my name, I had already had the wheel,
right?
But I wasn't. I had the TMX, and I had already met Dr. DNA.
Right.
Okay, so Dr. DNA was my first influence into what I'm doing now. Dr. DNA 333. I had met him, and I had my old Twitch name.
Right.
Which was not even Jordan Gamer Squad. It was something else. It was my old Xbox gamer tag. My YouTube channel was the Jordan thing. But I met Dr. DNA, and I'm in there as this other name that no one can pronounce because it's just my name spelled backwards, and it's like, what the hell is a Nivikev?
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, they thought I was Russian or from another country. It didn't make any sense. So through meeting him, and I'm like, dude, I want to get involved in this game. That at that point, that's when I eventually did the changeover. And then I remember showing back up in his channel. I'm like, you know how people do this now in our channels. Hey, it's me. I changed my name. So that was me. That was me last summer. I was like, hey, Doc, it's me. It's Kev. So that's when it started. And it wasn't long after. It was not long after that I met so many more, including the both of you.
Yeah, I was going to say, very shortly thereafter, I think I met you guys. Yeah.
It grew very quickly, or my friendship with many people started happening very, very quickly after hanging out with Doc and getting into dirt. I mean, I'm talking a couple weeks, and I think I was in both of your guys' streams.
Love it. Love it.
Fantastic.
Wow,
Kev.
that actually has filled in a lot of detail for myself. Like I had spots like in the timeline, but now I feel like I've got a way more complete timeline of how it all went down.
Much better picture. Yes, indeed. And I'm glad to have met you. Yes.
Of course.
Oh man,
I remember that in my first week on Twitch, I didn't even know what a raid was or a host. I didn't. Actually, I think I'd seen hosting and it just confused me. I didn't get it too well. Like, I mean, I could see what was happening, right? I'd go to somebody's channel, they're offline, they're hosting someone else, and that meant I was watching somebody else. I sort of, in a way, I didn't get the point. I didn't really understand. Sometimes I thought I was looking at the person that I was visiting their channel. It would take me a minute or two to sort of go, oh, this is not actually them. I can see they're hosting. But my first week, I think I did a couple of days of Dirt Rally 2 streams, and then, but on my Friday, which is Thursday for you guys, Forza Horizon 4 would refresh their weekly challenges and content, and so I streamed it, and then RipRev08 jumped into my channel. He organized for somebody who was streaming Forza Horizon to come raid me, and that was the first experience of me seeing what a raid is and what happens. Really shortly after, I had a stream, and I was finishing close to when sort of Kev might be starting, and I remember saying, all right, I am going to be finishing up shortly, but I'd like to raid someone. So if any of you guys watching are going live soon, I'd love to raid you. And then Kev was like, yeah, I can go live.
Nice.
And I do remember that being, you know, the first time I raided anyone. And we already had this group that would bounce between our streams, because the group, we've become friends. We want to keep hanging out. You know, just because I'm exhausted and I'm tired doesn't mean that everyone else is done. So yeah, I do remember that very clearly, being the start of that.
So at what point did you two yahoos put your heads together and come up with Discord? I mean, what's the origin of this? It's just you're obviously you're in each other's streams and you're discussing competition.
I'll start with that, because KasualKev doesn't know what Discord is at that point. I've never heard of Discord. I know Rain and the Alcoholic Ninja planned the thing, and they just said that we're going to create this place where we can hang out. That's all I knew. I was there, right? I was there, but I've never been in the Discord. I shouldn't say I've never been in Discord. I was invited to another Discord, and I was there, and I'm like, this is confusing. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. So I didn't do anything. So I knew of it, but I didn't do anything.
What I remember was, you know, one of the very first issues we stumbled across was, you know, Hitman was on PS4, Kev was on Xbox, so was Plow, and I think Inferno Impreza was on PS4 as well, and other people were on PC. And in the early days, I didn't know what clubs were. I just used to do daily challenges, weekly challenges, and sometimes monthly challenges. And so initially I was like, look, let's, anybody who's here, add me on Steam and I can see your name on the leaderboard for dailies and weeklies and the like. But then, of course, Kev's like, well, I'm on Xbox, Plow's on Xbox, and Hitman's all, I'm on PS4, and you can't add each other. And I think back in those days, you just came up as Dirt Player.
I was the fastest Xbox player. That's when I was fast.
Yeah. When you're only filtering on Xbox and not global.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember, Kev, you had a clip, and you probably still. I hope you still got this clip. You know, you're number 3 in the world on the leaderboards in New England. I remember that's one of the first things I saw on your channel, and me not really understanding Twitch very well. You know, I thought it was like YouTube where you type in a comment, you know, and then the other person sees it and the creator sees it and they can reply. But of course, that's not quite how it works. It was funny how Twitch did have that commenting feature.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone now, but they used to have that. But anyway, that's a digression. So around about the same time, and the same guy, Dr. DNA, he was part of Racing Corp TV's team, RCTV. And there was an RCTV Dirt Rally 2 club, and I joined in on it. And I think that's... and I ran it, and that's when I found out that somebody said, oh yeah, you know, I've run in RCTV and I'm on PS4. And I was like, oh, so these things are cross-platform. Right, well, we should have a club because it'll make it easier for us to... to compare times, you know, on the stages. But just before that, like I have to add that the community was already getting really strong between us. Because I remember, I think it might have been Kev was on before me, and then raided into me. But during Kev's stream, we had Inferno Impreza writing down everybody's times because Kev could see the Xbox times of Plow, and so at that point, Inferno Impreza was writing down everybody's times on the dailies and the weeklies. And then Inferno Impreza was on PS4, and he also jumped on his PS4 and wrote down his times and Hitman's times. And then when we went to my stream, then we could see the PC times, and Inferno, we'd look at the times there, and then Inferno Impreza would be typing in chat everybody else's times. It was remarkable the lengths that we went to compare times and you know, socialize. But it was because we were becoming fast friends. You know, we had a good time doing it. We were all really into it. And actually, another thing that we learned in those early days was Inferno Impreza. You know, being a school kid, he's got a very he had a low end phone, and he was trying to watch Twitch on his low end phone. Whenever he came to my stream, he would just get a black screen and audio. Now, despite this, the draw of being part of a community, he still listened. And when he could hear that the stage was over, he'd be typing in chat, what time did he get? What time did he get? He would just pay attention to chat. It was amazing. But that's how I found out about the 4500 bitrate thing, which I won't talk about now. But yeah, once I changed that 4500 bitrate, Impreza's like, oh, I can see you on my phone now. So that was a big revelation there. But yeah, look, that's how you know, that's when we created the first club, and that was the Twitch DR2 club, and it was called Twitch DR2 because I was just like, well, this is for the Dirt Rally 2 community on Twitch, so let's call it Twitch DR2, and there it was.
And prior to this, the Discord still had not been formed yet.
No,
This
no
was,
Discord.
This was still a thought yet to be formulated.
Yep,
Very
it was.
good.
It was. Everybody was still just trying to jump into each other's streams and catch each other online.
Interesting.
And then the first week that Twitch DR2 was up, everybody was jumping into each other's streams. We jumped into Alcoholic Ninja, into Kev, into my stream, and then I remember, Plow and Pato were running it, and I distinctly recall, by this stage I found out about multiple tabs, and I was Plow was running. And Plow and Pat were running at the same time, but as soon as Project Patter 99 realized that Plow was running, he basically stopped running to watch Plow because Plow had the very first shit run, which his car was an absolute wreck. His radiator was gone, but he would not quit. And multiple stages without a service, he was
This is the
absolutely
dragging that thing through.
The epic
Yeah.
plow run that we've heard about, the legendary
Yes.
epic plow run. Very good. Good to put that in
Yes.
context.
And it ended up being me and Pat just watching Plow's shit run the whole time, stage after stage, and having a great time. But then we realized, well, we need more than just each other's streams, and so Alcoholic Ninja was on my back saying, Rain, when are we going to create a Discord? And I'm like, all right, I'll get right onto it. And so like Kev, I'd seen Discords. I think I might have had a little bit more insight into how to use it because I had a bit more history into forums, old school forums, BBSs or what have you. Extensive experience with that, and with team voice clients like TeamSpeak and Ventrilo, and I'm sure there was another one that I can't remember now, but it's long dead. And the way I saw Discord was sort of like those two things mashed into one service, and so I was like, all right, well, I'll create it. And Alcoholic Ninja had the big experience with setting up the bots and the like, so he helped out with that at the very early stages, and so then we had a Discord, and yeah, it was sort of like, okay, well, I called the Discord the Twitch DR2 community Discord, and one of the first things Alcoholic Ninja said to me after I invited him in, so Alcoholic Ninja was the second person to jump into the Discord because we were setting it up. He jumped in, and one of the first things he said to me was that name is
Not gonna work. No, not gonna work.
you can't we can't have this name. And I was like, well, this is descriptive. He's like, yeah, but description is not a good name. I'm like, all right, fair enough. And I sort of wanted to capture the whole not so casual, but what I don't know what the term is. I wanted to capture the spirit of us all, whatever skill level, whatever experience level, that there was something that equalized us all, that made us all the same. And I was like, well, what's something that happens to us all? A barrel roll happens because we're trying and things don't work out, and boom, 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 there you go. And
the barrel rolls were happening frequently,
Yeah.
for all of it. Way more than they happen now. I mean, we were barrel rolling.
it really happened a lot back in those days. But I mean, it still happens. But yeah, quite a lot. And it is something. It is that event, right? Where no matter where you think you are, if you're doing good or you're doing bad, it is that event that brings you right back into like, you throw your hands up. It's like, oh well, I'm rolling. That's it. Nothing I can do about it. So
Absolutely fascinating. That fills in a lot of missing information for me on how the community was formed, how the name came about. I love it. Fantastic.
And I guess from there it was just natural. As we created the Discord, and we wanted more people to run our club. So if we'd be streaming the club and somebody would jump in and say, oh, how do I join? Oh, well, here's a Discord and here's the club link. And then of course people who arrived already had clubs, and so we're like, all right, well, we'll run your club as well. And then we went, all right, well, let's make a list of these clubs that the community runs, and let's, we started being focused about our community, about everyone on Twitch, about the Dirt Rally 2 community on Twitch. And so it was like, as more of a Dirt Rally 2 community on Twitch came on board, the list of clubs grew and grew and grew. And before we knew it, we had more clubs than we could run of a week. I mean, Twitch DR2 used to be 12 stages. Most of the clubs used to be 12 stages, but it was like, wow, this is just way too much because of how many clubs. And we started, compacting them down to help people be able to run all the clubs they needed to run of a week. But things just sort of grew organically as, particularly because we'd know of other people on Dirt Rally 2 on Twitch, and we'd raid into other people, and they'd find out about us, and then they'd join in. And then there was a concept floated. I think Nathaniel Tragic might have been one of the first to talk about the concept, about having 24 hours of Dirt Rally 2 streaming, and just having multiple streamers just sort of passing the torch organically. But it was Nizchik who I remember jumping up and saying, we should coordinate it. We should slot people in because we're global. We've got people in the Americas. We've got people in Europe. And we have some people who can bridge the time zones, like myself in Australia. And Nizchik was like, I think we can fill in every single hour in a 24 hours, and Nizchik actually looked at all the people we had and the times that they regularly streamed, and Nizchik was the one who was like, yeah, this can happen, we can do this. And we had our first roll-a-thon, and I think that was huge in introducing more and more people to the barrel rollers and what we were doing. I think that was the first huge kickstart in the growth of the community in Discord.
And that was just a couple weeks before Christmas,
yes.
I believe, right? In December,
yes.
This past year was the very first roller-thon.
So was it the first weekend of December or something like that?
It was around there. I know I was stressing because I had just built my PC, and I was trying to convert everything over to my PC before my 2 hours in that roller-thon, and I was stressed.
It was nerve-wracking. It
Yeah.
absolutely was nerve-wracking. I remember how
Nerve-wracking.
yeah.
Oh my God. This is me, brand new to streaming, and you guys throw me into a marathon. I've only barely been in the barrelers for like maybe a month. Let's do a marathon. Dirty rottens.
Well, we went from the guy who didn't have a camera, you just heard his
my
grumbly voice, to
God.
here he is. You're
Yeah,
getting a rate of 50.
And along those lines, I'm ever grateful to KasualKev. He obviously stumbled into my stream when I was a fledgling and really not streaming, just kind of being. And it was only a few weeks after you guys formed your Discord. So I distinctly remember Kev, and it was a whirlwind from meeting Kev to getting an invite to the Discord to showing up in the Discord and beginning to interact and socialize and just watch what Kev did. And meeting Rain accordingly. And then you guys were the two most heavily influencers for me. And so again, back to KasualKev, absolutely pleased that I met him, and huge influence. So many thanks to both of you for the creation of our community.
Definitely was Kev who introduced most of us to you, Wolvie, at that time.
Yeah.
I think it might have even been a Kev raid into you. Was the first time I actually got to catch one of your streams.
And like you, I had no idea what a raid was. I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah.
I was afraid of the word raid. I remember reading that if you get a raid, you better be prepared. You got to be prepared.
Yeah.
You got to be ready to entertain those people and all this. I'm like, what do you mean? What's a raid? I don't know what that means. I don't know how to entertain. I just remember being very scared of like what, like I was going to get random raids from like people that I have no clue who they are. You know what I mean? Like just random things happen. Like all of a sudden there's these people. It turns out that doesn't happen so often, but I was very afraid of that.
And the Rollerthon, the very first large raid I received from you guys, it just I was absolutely frightened, stage fright, nervous. But I remember shortly after it happened, it was just like it was natural. It's like this feels right. This feels absolutely right. So, again, wonderful, wonderful community, and all thanks to you guys.
I think with a Rollerthon in particular, I think one of the nice things about it is that it's a raid, but the people who are coming in, it's peppered with people that you should already know, but already know you, and they're introducing you to they're introducing other people to you and you to other people as well. So I think that is one of the ways it really helps, and it's a lot of positive energy coming in. And yes, there is that initial rush, and I've seen it many times when bang, the big raid happens, and the initial's like, whoa, holy, and but once everyone sort of goes, okay, well, you're here now, I suppose I better just get into it. Things just sort of naturally flow from there, and while 2 hours in the real world can feel like a long time, 2 hours streaming is over. You blink and then whoa, I've got 10 minutes to go, and my 2 hours is up. So I think that was a good thing about having the 2 hours, 2 hour slots with a Rollerthon. Yeah, and it was a great sort of big kick to Kickstarter of barrel rollers. I think we experienced quite a good surge of growth, and I think Dirt Rally 2 experienced a large, nice sort of surge in popularity at the time. Mind you, it was still actively receiving new content. I believe Rollerthon 1, we'd sort of just received
Wales?
Maybe Greece and Wales.
Yep.
Wales, maybe. Yep. Yeah, maybe it was Wales.
I couldn't tell you. Finland came along at some point. I don't remember when that was.
It was between the two Rollerthons. Finland came out.
Okay.
I think I'm pretty sure about that. Could be wrong.
The whole game was so new to me at that point that like it's a rally blur in my head. Like I don't know what was original content. I don't know what was add-ons. I just remember Finland and Scotland coming. That's the two I remember coming. Well, everything else was a blur.
Indeed, Scotland, as part of a Colin McRae pack, the timing of that, we actually timed the second Rollerthon to be the weekend after the release of Scotland, and so we all were running Scotland for the second Rollerthon. Of course, the second Rollerthon was huge. There were so many people involved. We stretched that out to pretty much the entire weekend. I think it was 48 hours in the end. But I think the second Rollerthon was even bigger because, of course, we built upon everything that happened before. Plus, everybody was staying at home with a pandemic. So that second Rollerthon was the number of viewers we had, was alarming. It really was alarming, and
the organization was almost flawless. I mean, we learned a lot from the first rollathon, and
Oh yeah.
a lot of stuff went on in the background. I think that very few people are aware of. A lot of planning and a lot of key people making that happen. I particularly was pleased with how almost seamless it went off. I mean, it was virtually worry free for the most part. There were a few spots in
We
there
did
we had
have
to work.
one particularly alarming point where
My folks, I
somebody's
think was it was my folks.
that was
Yeah.
rough. But
Yep.
even in the first rollathon, I remember, I think it was True Racing's internet went down.
Oh, right. Yep.
His internet went down, but then we realized that if he got onto mobile, he could still raid, and we're able to salvage it. So yeah, True Racing was a champ.
I've never seen such a thing on Twitch.
Yeah.
Coordinated, what, over a dozen drivers, if not more, in a 24-hour period, raiding into each other in a very coordinated fashion, smoothly done. I've never seen anything like it before or since. I don't know if there is such a thing in the Twitch world, but I'm very proud of what rollers achieved with those rollathons. That was amazing.
Indeed. And the timing of a second rollathon as well. The it was just as the PlayStation Plus got free access to Dirt Rally 2 as well, and that brought in a huge interest spike again. At that time as well, all sort of motorsports was cancelled and went virtual, and we had people like Matthias Adilson coming to Twitch and streaming. And for those who don't know his name, he's I think a Swedish rally champion in real life. We had people like Mika Salo, former Formula One driver, playing some Dirt Rally too. We had some big names coming into Twitch and bringing a lot of new people into Twitch as well. So there was a huge spike, and that spike sort of continued for a couple of months before people started getting back into the real world, and we're seeing a little bit of a wind down from those heady days. I think we're still in a much better and bigger place than we were at the start of all of that. Particularly, I mean, in the numbers on our Discord, I think I looked back, and before it all started, we might have been around about the 400 mark in terms of our membership, and today we actually crested 1,000 today. So yeah, that growth, at least in our Discord membership, has continued. It's never slowed down since then. So even while Twitch has receded a bit, I think the community is still very, very strong. Even if we're busy with real life coming back, I think we're still very, very strong. And yeah, it certainly shows in the activity. And the friendships that are made in the community, I think it keeps people around, even if Twitch itself, people might have less time to spend on Twitch, people might have less time to spend in Dirt Rally 2. I think just like how we started, it's the bonds and the friendships that keep everyone around. So
It's an anchor point. It's an anchor point to the chaos in the world, and that's how I look at it. It's family. I can come into our Discord and immediately be entertained and soothed by other people's experiences, by other people's information, memes, whatever. It's an amazing informational slash social media slash organization slash everything. It's an anchor. It's an anchor in the world of chaos right now, and I love it.
mean, it's where I turn to when I want to talk to my friends about things that I love. You know, and
It's not Facebook for
course.
me. It's not Facebook. It's not any of those. I mean, obviously we have presence on Twitter and Instagram, both individually and community wise. But as Rain said, I it's my central app that I go to, our
Yeah,
Discord community. So
without a doubt, without a doubt. Um, so then looking to the future, you know, that's the history of a barrel roll is basically up to this point, a much condensed version. there are there are definitely more stories, but I think I look forward to getting into in future podcasts. Um, but you know, into the future, you know, I think we've been waiting for other games to sort of explore as a community. Well, and when I say other games, are fresh new titles, because from the start, I think there have been other titles that we've you know, jumped into just because we have that interest. You know, we've done iRacing enduros, which were amazing, but if not sort of does we don't sort of have that frequency. They're more singular events. Um, for example. But I think we recently had, because we're 1 year old now. We just celebrated our 1 year birthday by having you know, having events, having some lobbies, and I think there's definitely a lot of value, a lot of fun that we have in these lobbies, and so we will continue to do more. Um, but also there's a couple of games that we were hoping would be a nice place for us to go into as a community that haven't quite got there. So we still continue to be looking forward to things. I
the
mean, yeah,
adaptation of said games is going to have to be evenly paced.
yeah.
We'll have to kind of see where things land with those new games coming up.
WC9 was had huge potential for us. We heard that they were going to introduce clubs, which is, of course, as we've covered, the thing that really, you know, catalyzed the community. But the limitations of clubs means won't it won't be able to take the same places as Dirt Rally 2, unfortunately. Maybe they could improve that in the future, and if that's the case, I think WC9 could be something we could look into. I think the co-op, the navigation feature, when that's released, that could be a time that we might want to look into WRC9, because we, you know, myself and Terran Raptor did a thing in the very early days where we, you know, wrangled Dirt Rally 2's spectate feature to try to make that work. I also did something recently with Impreza 0109, where I navigated for him. It's such a fun thing to do. So I am looking forward to that, at least for WC9. Dirt 5, it's definitely not Rally. They've really separated the Rally from Dirt 5. I've got early access to the track creation side of things, and track creation is great. I mean, it is the user generated side of Dirt Rally 2 that we love. So the more sort of user generated content that we get access to, I think, is great as well. Project Cars 2 had Rallycross, and in fact that was my first experience with, oh, not my first experience, the first time I loved Rallycross was in Project Cars 2. Of course, Dirt Rally 1 had Rallycross, and I just could not get into it. But in Project Cars 2, I liked it. So Project Cars 3, I thought, could have had potential. I'm still not sure about Project Cars 3. I don't know. It's the change of direction. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've obviously been following all three titles, and I'm not overly impressed with any one of them at this point. But we need to exercise our equipment. So, whoops, we need to exercise our equipment. There's motion at my front door.
We're used to hearing
That's
that
Wolvie's
voice.
front door.
That's my front door. Knock, knock.
It's part of Wolvie.
Exactly.
It's fine. Leave it on. It's like if you hear the elephants stomping around above me, it's part of what you get with me. You
And
know,
with
the kids are
rain,
wrestling.
it's the birds. It's the tropical birds with
birds.
rain. Yep.
Birds,
or the leaf blower.
Or the
leaf blower.
Right.
You know,
So here's hoping that I think our community will remain strong regardless of whatever games flow through. We've got enough camaraderie and enough people that have created new friendships here that it continues to be a draw. So I'm hopeful that we can continue to work Dirt 2 and utilize the clubs and the competitive nature of those clubs. The esports is a big
esports has been
draw
a
right
huge
now.
thing.
And I think that esports and clubs will keep Dirt 2 alive for many months to come. But really hoping for something a little more solid than what we're seeing with WRC 9 and sort of Dirt 5 and PC 3. They're not, with the exception of potentially WRC 9, they're not sim titles per se. And so it makes it difficult for a lot of us hardcore guys to accept games like that. I mean, I had Dirt 4, and I will be honest, I played it for maybe 2 weeks, maybe. And, I bought all of the DLC that was available at the time, and here I am, years later, haven't touched it. It did not appeal to me. I went right back to playing Dirt 1.
I think we are learning lessons as sim racing, evolves. The number of titles that sit on your in your library that go untouched, and you find out which ones draw you back in. And I have seen people taking breaks from Dirt Rally 2 of weeks, of months, then they come back. A lot of them will come back just to hang out, just to do the community thing once again. And they might be gone again after they come back, and then they come back again. So it's like you guys said, the community is the rock. It's the anchor. It's what brings people back, and it's certainly what's kept us, so involved and has kept us continuously engaged. Is to be with our friends.
I'm very excited for the future,
Yes.
potential new events with new games. I love the whole aspect of event-based social gatherings within our community. I think it's a big thing, and I think it's something that can continue to hold us together and
Absolutely.
even produce growth. If we get the right title in there, we can make that happen.
It's been I mean, having Twitch and being able to participate in what you see on Twitch is big as well, especially in pandemic times when we don't get to the luxury of face-to-face contact as much as we used to. It certainly is my number one source of socialization at the moment, and
It's family number 2, right? It's a family. Bottom line.
Without a doubt.
Fantastic.
So the main thing I think for us for now in the future for the barrel rollers is to continue with events. Dirt Rally 2 is not going anywhere. Nothing has arrived yet to supplant it. And on a personal level, regardless of the clubs, regardless of the levels of participation, I still really enjoy driving the cars. They're nuanced enough, the locations are different enough that I am so far from having mastered any of them. Any location, any car, I still get in there and there's still so much to learn. So there's still plenty of value there for me.
I'm still waiting for my burnout point with Dirt 2. It hasn't happened yet. Meeting you guys has only incented me to go further. Next is H pattern and clutch. I have all hope and plans for this game. It's still learning and still have lots of wonderful content to go with this game, I think. So I'm quite ecstatic about it.
We cannot wait to see you dance.
Oh, God. Dancing on beers and gears was not pretty. No, that wasn't pretty.
We didn't say anything about pretty. We just said dance.
Just dance.
I don't dance pretty either.
Exactly.
That's the thing. I don't dance pretty either, but I get it done somehow.
It's again, it's a testimony to the hold of the game. I mean, I've invested more in this game in the last 6 months than I thought I ever would in any game.
Without a doubt.
But I've not had one single regret over any one of those pieces of equipment added, and I'm incented to do more. I want another game like this to completely suck me in. But I haven't found it yet. So until then,
something to look forward to.
Exactly.
Thank you to everyone who has listened to our second podcast. We will be recording more podcasts, inviting many more special guests on to interview and to share their extensive backgrounds and experiences with us in future episodes. So stay tuned to the Barrel Rollers website and to our Discord. Please feel free to provide feedback. Love to hear what you guys thought of our second effort. And we'd also love to hear ideas on future content. What would you guys like to know about? What would you guys like us to talk more about or to elaborate more on? So until then, thank you again for tuning in and hope to present to you again next time. Bye-bye.